Welcome back, friends, and I know everyone is excited that this is game week. I couldn't be more excited that it's game week. I know everyone else is as well. But first, we want to let you know what's going on with MGO Blue Podcast. There's a ton going on because we are now back in the academic and athletic year. So Conquering Heroes will return. I'll give you a tidbit about that in just a moment. But first, a radio replay. Inside Michigan Football. The first episode was last night. If you missed it or you just want to go back and listen, it's every Monday night. We repackage it. Last night's guest, we'll always have the head coach, Sharon Moore. We had offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey. A couple of great conversations with both those guys. And then one of my favorite football players of all time, two-time captain now here, and the only pair of brothers that are two-time captains here at the University of Michigan. Max Bredeson joined me at the end of the program. Defend the Block, that's out as well. And that is one of the all-time greats in Michigan history. And Brian, great get. Rudy Tomjanovich. Some of you remember him obviously as a Michigan basketball player, some as a coach in the NBA, but he's always a Michigan man. So it's a great get and a lot of interesting information there. Conquering Heroes, I teased it just a second ago. It will be out Thursday. And on Thursday's episode, if you're going to start in everything that we do in Michigan athletics, you got to start with the athletic director, Ward Manuel. He'll be my guest on Thursday. And just as a reminder, In the Trenches, to let you know what's going on. I already told you about the radio replay. That comes out Monday night after the show airs. Thursday at 5 o'clock, keys to the game. Saturday, about 3 hours after the final whistle, we'll have our repackage of the post-game interviews. Brian and I's breakdown of the game, my analysis of what happened, what should have happened, what did happen, all of those things will be a part of that episode. So there's a lot going on, and as always, we'll have this every single Tuesday, 11:15 to 12:15-ish, depending on how long the offensive line discussion goes. But then obviously the audio portion will come out on Wednesday, and this week it is also another captain, Giovanni El-Hadi.
It's going to be a lot of fun, John. Fired up for everything we have going on here on the now YouTube channel, obviously on the podcast feed. Those Thursday and Saturday In the Trenches editions, those are audio only, but we're going to be with you here Tuesdays, 11:15 a.m. every week during the season. Can't wait to get into it. So, John, let's start with our weekly 7 from 77, and we get things going with probably the most relevant topic that we learned from Monday's Sharon Moore press conference. Bryce Underwood, QB1, fourth ever in Michigan history to be a true freshman starting quarterback. Your reaction, your thoughts to how it happened?
My reaction, I think it's great. I think there's a lot of advantage to having Bryce Underwood, his skill set, whether with his legs, with his arm, his accuracy. There's a lot to love about Bryce Underwood. The question marks are going to be, he just turned 18 years old. He's a very young freshman. He is a freshman playing in the Big Ten. Week 2, it's going to be against Oklahoma. So the learning curve has to be very steep for Bryce. What I've seen from him, and we've talked about this, for all offseason, from spring ball to summer conditioning and the 7-on-7s that he was doing with the defense, I've watched him grow. And then in fall camp, I've watched him grow. And watching him and some of the things that I've seen him grow, if you go back and listen to Inside Michigan Football, Sharon Moore talked about not making the same mistake twice. He is a guy that is a student of the game. He has come in and he has studied as hard as he possibly can. He's done everything he can off the field to give himself an advantage on the field. And so no two same mistakes. There's going to be, like I mentioned, a learning curve. There's going to be some moments where you're like, ooh, that was a freshman play. But I think there's going to be a lot more moments of, wow, that was unbelievable. And I'm excited to see what he does Saturday night in the Big House.
The hope is that there is no more quarterback controversy or competition here over the next few years of Michigan football because you've got a true freshman in there. It will be fascinating to watch. Now, Bryce will have to be a leader on this team. Anytime a starting quarterback is on a team and is as established as Bryce seems to be, there needs to be some leadership from there. But we also learned about Michigan's 6 captains. Talked about a few of them. We kind of knew, right? Max Bredeson, Rod Moore, 2-time captains like John Jansen, which is awesome, and like Ben Bredeson, which is really cool, as you alluded to. Also offensively, Giovanni El-Hadi and Marlon Klein. Defensively, Ernest Hausman and Derek Moore. your takeaways from a group that isn't necessarily surprising, but it's always fun to get those actual names.
I loved Chip Lindsey's take on it. It's so Michigan to have 2 tight ends and an offensive lineman as your offensive captains. Now that's going to change, not this year, but over time. It's not always going to be that makeup, but it feels very Michigan-esque to have a couple of those guys that are going to be in the trenches as captains. I love this group of captains. Ernie Hausman, not surprised at all that he was named captain, one of the captains of defense. Obviously, Rod Moore, the repeater. Derek Moore has done nothing but show leadership since he's been here and has grown as a player, has grown as a person. So excited about that. But Ernie, it's the linebackers. You can argue who's the quarterback of the defense, but the way that Wink has this set up, they're that communication between the back end of the defensive backs and the down linemen. He's that guy that has to be the coach on the field. He's a very vocal player on the field. You're not going to hear a lot from him off the field, but he's very vocal on the field, and I think it's a great selection by the team for the 6 captains this year.
And Hausman, only his 3rd year at Michigan. The first freshman year for him was at Nebraska. So for him to earn that opportunity, it is reserved for 4th-year players and beyond. There aren't a lot of guys who are in their 3rd season of Michigan football who become captains. Shows you what Ernie Hausman has been able to do. We'll continue with our 7 from 77 here momentarily, but we do want to tell you about a new sponsor, our friends at Frost Buddy. John, exciting things with Frost Buddy.
That's right, Brian, and Frost Buddy wants to ask all Michigan fans, are you ready to chill in style? Frost Buddy features the most versatile can coolers in the world, and they are built to keep your drink ice cold from kickoff to the final whistle. No matter if it's at noon or 7:30, it's going to be a cold beverage. And the big house just got bigger. Score your exclusive University of Michigan Buddy only on game days. So whether you're tailgating, studying, or just repping your team, this limited edition drops got you covered. This Michigan Buddy is available while supplies last, so check it out at most concession stands at Michigan Stadium this coming season.
All right, number 3 on our 7 from 77. Other than QB1 and the captains, we got a lot of information about Michigan offensively from Sharon Moore in Monday's press conference. I know, John, most important for him, the offensive line starting unit is set. Evan Link gets that flip over from right tackle to left tackle. Captain Giovanni El-Hadi at left guard. As expected, Greg Crippen earns the center position. Brady Norton, the transfer, at right guard. And then a battle there at right tackle. Andrew Sprague earns that for Michigan at right tackle. And Coach Moore did say that Nathan Afobe will get some time at right guard. He has earned that opportunity. Other noteworthy aspects, Jordan Marshall, Justice Haynes, kind of that 1A, 1B at running back as expected. Wide receiver-wise, it's tough not to hear about Donovan McCulley earning that number 1. A lot of hype around what he's brought to the table. He and Samaj Morgan, the top 2 receivers. Maybe of note and of surprise, Channing Goodwin, who Coach Moore said has taken that next step. He is wide receiver 3. So a lot there we learned. Your takeaways from some of the offensive nuggets we got from Coach Moore.
Do I have a time limit on the offensive line?
We'll have to check with Jason Avant. I know his schedule is very, very,
it's very
difficult.
Tight
so
today.
Yeah, maybe we'll get to actually delve into why that's the case. We'll see.
But so I'll start with the offensive line. And Evan Link, Giovanni El-Hadi, both played on the right side. They're very familiar with each other. Communication won't be an issue. Both of them are moving from the right to the left side, which is their natural position. Evan Link played that throughout high school, his first year at Michigan. Last year was the first time he moved over. And in the bowl game against Alabama, Alabama was playing all their starters. Michigan moved him over. And I really liked his demeanor over there. I liked his pass sets. He's been working on those, working on his hands. And so I expect a much improved Evan Link. Even Giovanni, talking to him the last couple of weeks on the podcast, he has talked about how much more comfortable he is on that side. Now, from Greg Crippen, Gio, and Evan, you've got a very experienced bunch over there. When you get to the right side with Brady Norton, new to the Big Ten, coming from a smaller school, a little bit undersized, but athletic. And so he's going to be a guy that they use a lot in the pull game. And it's not just the counter. It's going to be also being able to get outside on the right when they do some of those pitches to the running back. So look for him to be a guy that's leading down the field. And then Andrew Sprague, I'm telling you right now, every team and every offensive line needs somebody that just has that grit, that is the badass of the group. That is Andrew Sprague. He's going to be a guy that will block to the whistle, and we all know you get a heartbeat after. He's going to take that heartbeat after, and there's going to be a lot of pancakes from Andrew Sprague. So I'm excited to see him get more of an opportunity this year. Banged up a little bit last year, but we did see him at the end of the season. Running backs. When you're talking about Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall, both of these guys are very similar. They're built the same. When their run styles are very similar. I think I mentioned it last week. The only difference, if you're trying to find a difference, is Jordan Marshall, as we saw in the bowl game, is more of a behind your shoulder pads, downhill runner. So I expect to see him in some of those short yardage situations where they're trying to go between the tackles. Justice Haynes has a little bit more twitch to him, a little bit more elusiveness when you get out on the edge. So look for Brady Norton, look for Justice Haynes to be out on the edge. Both of them could do either, but if you're looking for a difference, I think that's where you're looking. And then when I was talking to Coach, I think it was last week, I brought up Channing Goodwin. Channing Goodwin is one of those guys that came in as a freshman, high expectations for him, but then you see him after spring ball, after the summer conditioning program, he walks by you and he kind of, you do that double take because he has put on about 15 pounds and it is all pure muscle. I'm excited about what he brings to this team at the receiver position, and it's really going to be about the chemistry between Bryce and all the receivers, but especially those three that you just mentioned.
And Sharon Moore did say that there is belief in up to 7 of those receivers. That's what Chip Lindsey has wanted. So those won't be the only 3, but certainly Goodwin being number 3 is worth mentioning. All right, number 4 on our 7 from 77. From a defensive side, didn't necessarily learn as much as when it comes to exact details, mainly because we've heard a lot from Wink Martindale. Want depth, want to shuffle guys in and out. But of note, Jair Hill is Michigan's top corner, Zeke Berry at that cornerback 2 spot. And Sharon did mention the likes of Trey Pierce, Cole Sullivan, and Brandon Hillman as guys who have really been surprises, standouts in camp. Your thoughts on the defense that you heard from Coach Moore in your conversations, or just your observations from camp now pivoting into game week?
I'm really excited about the depth of this defense. And it's not just what you're going to see when that team takes the field. It's going to be a formidable bunch, and I think the numbers for this defense is going to be better than it was last year. That defensive tackle position, being able to rotate 6 guys through, keeps them fresh. One guy's not going to have the big numbers, but as a group of 6 who they're all going to probably get 20 to 25 reps per game, they're going to be fresh. Those numbers as a group are going to be really, really good. And the linebackers, I think this is, for the top 4 linebackers, the most talented group that we're going to see in college football, top to bottom. And that talent that is behind Ernie and Jason, it's going to allow Wink to, one, keep those guys fresh, sideline to sideline guys, downhill guys, but it's going to allow them to do more with Jason and with Ernie. And we've heard, and I'm excited to see, where are they going to line up Jason? He literally could line up anywhere on the field. He is that type of talent. And if he's at linebacker, great. If he hitting the A gap or lines up in the A gap, he may be hitting the B. He may loop around to the C. There's a lot of things that Wink can do with an athlete like that when you have a guy like Cole Sullivan behind him.
We mentioned Jason, and that's been a big topic this year leading up to the season, is what Jason Barham could do differently, different positions. You alluded to Ernest Hausman. Do you think there can be a lot of fluidity in his role, or is he pretty locked into what he does and is kind of just that quarterback of the defense?
I'm not going to limit him in terms of he can do all of those things, but if you've got an athlete like Jason, Ernie is going to be the guy that we see mainly between the tackles. Yep. That's going to be his position. Now, against the Washington game last year, we saw him in pass coverage, almost get an interception, and then later in the game, made an adjustment, did pick off a ball. That's where he really excels. He can get after the quarterback when called upon, but he's a great cover linebacker. So when we're facing teams, and we'll see it in New Mexico with 4 really good running backs, he's a guy that can track those guys down, sideline to sideline, but also if they want to throw him the ball, he's a style of linebacker that can cover running backs coming out of the backfield.
So number 5 on our 7 from 77. There's a lot of the things we do know. There's still a bunch about Michigan that we don't know. It's the opener. That's the natural way of college football these days. ton of new faces, new responsibilities, new roles. Jon, what are you most excited to hopefully learn come Saturday night at the Big House?
What I want to learn, and most coaches, most former football players, even current football players will tell you it's all about discipline in week one. It doesn't matter the opponent. It could be, if they had switched Oklahoma and New Mexico, I'd still tell you the same thing. It's no pre-snap penalties. Make sure everybody's lined up, and that's going to be a task for Bryce Underwood. Hey, if you've got two receivers to the right, one's supposed to be on the line of scrimmage, one's off, he's got to recognize that. Sometimes those receivers just want the ball. Throw me the damn ball. I think there was a book written about that. And all of a sudden, you might have two guys on the line of scrimmage. He has to have the awareness of letting, whether it's Samaj or Fred, hey, back up. Like that's one of the progressions of the game slowing down for Bryce. So that's one thing. But it's no pre-snap penalties, stance, start, alignment, all of those different things on both sides of the ball. And then the secondary, I always talk about the communication of that offensive line. We talk about elephants on parade. Now those guys, I'm not going to call them elephants because it doesn't fit, but they have to have the same mindset. Yeah. When you're in coverages, especially if they're using 5, you've got to be able to understand what's going on the other side of the field so that if you're supposed to rotate over or underneath, like that's where you're going to be. Communication in week one will be key. And even when you go to special teams, because you're going to get 35 to 40 reps in special teams. JB, when he's running down the sideline saying, hey, punt team, punt team, punt team, you've got to make sure there are 11 guys on the field. Can't play with 12, and you're at a severe disadvantage with 10. So that's part of the communication of making sure the personnel is where it's supposed to be when it's supposed to be there.
I know Michigan fans don't want to learn this or see this necessarily on Saturday. Michigan, a 5-touchdown or so favorite. But from all accounts, Hudson Hollenbeck has been a real weapon at punter in camp. And you combine what he has the potential to do with what Michigan's defensive depth possesses, at some point, Michigan will punt. And at some point, that could be one heck of a weapon for Michigan to utilize because of the asset that, again, we got to see it. But Hudson Hollenbeck was one of the few guys we knew was a starter like midway through camp.
Yeah, and don't give away too many of my keys to the game, but you will probably hear field position. And you're going to hear it a lot this year, especially with the inexperience on offense. Now, it's not an excuse, but it could be a huge advantage for Michigan to be able to flip the field with Hudson Hollenbeck, to be able to get to the 35 or 40-yard line with Dom Zavada and know that you've got points. If you have that along with a defense that's going to hit the ground running, you're at a huge advantage starting a college football season.
All right, number 6 on our 7 from 77, as Jon alluded to, he will break down his keys to the game on Thursday afternoon's edition on the audio podcast feed. But I want to ask you, Jon, about this non-conference setup. You've got the marquee game in week 2 against Oklahoma. You have one local team coming to town in week 3 with the Chippewas of Central Michigan making the short trip south to Ann Arbor. And then you've got this New Mexico team, the Lobos, a first-year head coach, never played Michigan. Michigan only, I think it's 15 games against the Mountain West all time. Do you like how this is structured with one big-time game, one local game, and then one against a team that gets to experience it? It is always cool to see the fans from places that don't come here much, if at all, and they get to look around the Big House and experience a game day in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, that's nice, it's cute. We don't really care about New Mexico's experience. It's just about Michigan. And I do like the fact that there, especially this year, that there is I call them preseason games, and I know everybody's going to lose their mind. To me, it is a preseason game. It will count for your record, but it's a game to get right before you go to Norman, Oklahoma. And we're going to see a lot more schedules like this moving forward. We already know that next year Oklahoma comes here. In 2 years, we go to Austin to take on Texas. We're going to see a lot more of those matchups, but I think it sets up well for this year's team. And I love the challenge of going to Norman, Oklahoma in week 2. We're going to learn a lot about both teams that week. We'll save a lot of that discussion for next week, but this week the focus is all on the Lobos, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And the other thing about it is their coach is
Jason Eck.
Jason Eck. He's coming from the Idaho Vandals, which is by far one of the greatest nicknames in all of college football. I think it's great. The Vandals, it sounds awesome. Last year to start the season, he was the coach of the Idaho Vandals when they took on Oregon. They lost 14-24, and the stat sheet will tell you that it wasn't a close game. You know, the score tells you something else. But he has been able to manufacture an enthusiasm in his team to not succumb to the big boys. Now, can he do that with New Mexico? They've got 15 new players that are going to be contributors, 4 of them in the backfield, a new quarterback. He's coming from Idaho with Coach Eck. So I don't expect this to be a complete blowout early on. They're going to fight, as you would expect them to show up and do. But just keep that in the back of your mind. That game, it does matter. And it shows you what Coach Eck can do to motivate his players to play tough against the big boy.
Idaho Vandals, an awesome nickname. And if you've never seen pictures of the Idaho football stadium, the Kibbe Dome, I encourage you to look it up because it is in the whole sickos committee of college football.
Yeah.
I think it's the cathedral. The Kibbe Dome is awesome. All right, on the video side, we got Jason Avant coming up in about 10, 12 minutes. On the audio side, Max Bredeson in about 10, 12 minutes. But we will set the table for week 1 in college football right after we tell you the college football season is also Modelo season. If you're listening or watching right now, that means it is time for a reward. Reward your full-time fandom with an ice-cold Modelo. Modelo, the official beer sponsor of the college football playoff. All right, number 7 on our 7 from 77. Let's talk the rest of college football. We start in the Big Ten, and let's just kind of go through some of the big games starting, John. 4 games on Thursday. Biggest one relevant to Michigan early on this year because it's really Nebraska's lone potential hiccup before they could potentially welcome Michigan in to Lincoln week 4 as an undefeated team. Arrowhead Stadium for the Huskers against Cincinnati. That one stands out on the Thursday slate.
It does, and the cool thing about it is we're going to learn a lot about Matt Rule, this year's team at Nebraska, and it's the fun thing is we all know about their quarterback, right? I played with his dad when I was with the Lions, Dom Raiola, but Dylan, sophomore quarterback. What we saw last year was they came out of the chutes really playing well. And then as the season went on, there were some turnovers. There were some, I don't want to say issues at quarterback, but it did cost him some games. He's very talented. He's very confident in what he does. They also entered the transfer portal and brought in a couple of really good receivers. I am excited to see how they play against Cincinnati. I think it'll be a good early test for them. And who wouldn't love playing in Arrowhead to start the season off?
Sure.
I know nobody wants to lose a game at home, but to play in Arrowhead, that's one of those. You mentioned New Mexico coming to the big house. It's going to be something that they tell their kids about. For both of these teams, that's going to be something that they talk about. Hey, when I was in college football, we played at Arrowhead. It's a great atmosphere.
Texas at Ohio State, noon on Saturday. How do you size up that matchup?
I give the advantage to Texas just because of the experience at the quarterback, and I have no idea how good or average or I think he's going to be all right Arch Manning will be. But what we saw last year is he's obviously got some wheels. He's a guy that's a dual threat quarterback, which is shocking coming from the Manning family, but his dad was the fast one. So
yes, that's right.
Apparently he got his speed there. But when you're talking about a team like Texas, who obviously played deep into the postseason last year, I'm excited because they do have some experience with Arch Manning, not just running the ball, but throwing the ball as well. He made some big plays for him. And the question that I have for Ohio State is Julian Sayin, their quarterback. He was highly regarded, committed to Alabama, ended up transferring to Ohio State. So he's a very sought-after 5-star recruit. This is his first legitimate playing time. He got a couple of garbage reps last year, but this is a welcome to the big boy football. And if you're going to do that, you'd love to have a receiver in Jeremiah Smith. They lost a lot of talent last year going to the NFL, but as we know, Ohio State, they're loaded with talent. So I think it's going to be a great matchup, but I give the edge to Texas.
I think I agree there, but it will be a great game. The only other power conference matchup, of course, the great Utah-UCLA Big Ten versus Big 12 clash. That's at 11 o'clock on Saturday. So, I mean, we are jam-packed with games. Any potential upset alerts you have elsewhere in the Big Ten?
There
aren't many out there.
No, I mean, I cheer for Nevada. Let's go. Nevada, what are they? The
Wolfpack.
Wolves? The Wolfpack? Yeah.
You sound like you were saying, let's go Nevadas.
Yeah, let's go Nevadas. I know you always like to throw away what's their mascot.
No.
But no, I don't really see it. What is it? Western Michigan is playing Illinois, and to me, Illinois is rightfully ranked. They're going to be a top 10 team probably a couple of weeks into the season, and so Drew Altmaier at quarterback, big offensive line, exactly what we expected. I expected it a couple of years ago from a Brett Bielema coach team, but they just couldn't find their quarterback. Now Drew Altmaier is there. It's his second year. Big experienced offensive line, big experienced defensive line. They're going to control the line of scrimmage, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with throughout the season.
Southeastern Conference now, the big second season of the Kalen DeBoer era at Alabama begins with a challenging road trip on paper at Florida State. The Tide are about a 2-touchdown favorite in Tallahassee after about as bad of a season as a preseason. I think Florida State was top 10 to start that they had last year. Thoughts on that matchup and just where Alabama stands? Because remember, a lot of the discussion around changing college football playoff mechanisms, strength of schedules, data points, all of that revolved around a 3-loss Kalen DeBoer-led Alabama team that then, of course, lost to Michigan in the ReliaQuest Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be a 3-loss team this year. It's really going to depend on Ty Simpson, their quarterback. And if you could root for a player on another team, Ty Simpson would be one of those because he has stuck around. He has waited his time. He has earned the opportunity. This is a very talented team, top to bottom. And it's really going to hinge on, much like Notre Dame when C.J. Carr takes the field, Ty Simpson, when he takes the field, he's got a lot of weapons around him, great receivers. But what's he going to be able to do from that quarterback position? He's got some, obviously he's no young buck. He's a redshirt senior, but that might be the limiting factor for Alabama.
Saturday night, a doozy. LSU and Clemson. This is at Clemson. We've talked about this on the podcast before. Brian Kelly and LSU, they have scheduled tough in week 1, and they are 0-3 in week 1 under Brian Kelly. Is it 0-4?
At some point, he's got to win an opener, right?
But they've
agreed. To
but
their
this
credit,
is
for the most part, other than the loss, I think there was one against Florida State that was unranked.
USC got them last year.
And at that time they were right. We ended up learning that they weren't very good.
Yep.
But it's so hard to pick this game, and I know we're not making picks, right? But
not holding you to.
I think LSU, with Garrett Neismeier at quarterback, I've gone back and watched most of their games from last year. This kid can really throw the ball, and I think they're going to put up some big numbers. They don't have a lot of transfers coming in at wide receiver, so there's that chemistry already built in between wide receiver and quarterback. They've got some young players on that offensive line that gained some great experience last year. So I think this is the year that LSU finally wins an opener.
Well, Nussmeier is a guy who has the chance to be QB1 in next April's NFL draft, up there with Drew Aller at Penn State, Lenore Sellers, the South Carolina quarterback, who South Carolina is kind of that trendy tail end of the top 15 college football playoff pick. They open up against Virginia Tech in Atlanta. That's an interesting matchup. So the Nussmeier storyline, very much a relevant one in college football as we talk CFP, potential Heisman, potential #1 overall pick. ACC now. The biggest game we haven't mentioned yet, obviously there's plenty of cross-pollination here between the Power 4 conferences. It's Notre Dame at Miami, top 10 matchup. And really, for both of these teams, it kind of feels like if the loser does not win out after that, they might not be in the college football playoff. Miami suffered that unfortunate fate for them last year.
They did. And the thing about, obviously, the one thing I like about Notre Dame is their starting quarterback, C.J. Carr. And, when the greatest friend a quarterback can have is a great run game. Last year, one of the concerns I had about Notre Dame is a young offensive, true freshman starting at left tackle. Well, he performed well. Now he's a sophomore. Now they have that experience up front. They've made some additions and some changes to that offensive line. But Love in the backfield, he's going to be one of those guys that I know you mentioned a bunch of quarterbacks, and the Heisman largely is a quarterback award, but he'll be a guy that people will be talking about that has Heisman caliber potential. When you have that in the backfield and you've got some reliable receivers, the only thing that CJ has to do is deliver the football and make good decisions, and I think he will.
Then Monday night, I don't know if North Carolina and TCU will be talking about this as a data point come college football playoff discussion in November and early December, but storyline-wise, we are 100% going to be talking about North Carolina, first game for head coach Bill Belichick, and it's got that Monday night Labor Day spotlight. How do you size up? Again, I'm not so much worried about the X's and O's of that game. I'm fascinated by what it'll look like, feel like in that stadium with Belichick leading the way.
I have no idea. I would anticipate that we'll see a very good defense. We'll see a creative defense. We'll see a lot, because that's what Bill Belichick is, right? He's a defensive coach. Not that he can't coach offense, but that's not his specialty. I expect that there will be a really good defense, and I think most people will actually be looking for CEO, what is her name, Jordan Hudson? They'll probably be looking for her. That'll be the Taylor Swift of college football this year. How many times are they going to show her during the game? And if there's a good play, a bad play, what's her reaction? It's going to make you nauseous. But it's all part of the storyline of North Carolina football this year.
The reality is, what we need to know is the North Carolina record. Will those shows to the suite be on ABC or on ACC Network Plus? Right. That will be the question of where those. I think it is Jordan Hudson, but don't quote me on that. Lastly, just want to touch on the Big 12 Week 0 matchup in Dublin. Iowa State gets the win narrowly over Kansas State. That was a heck of a football game. Not necessarily the cleanest, but for the first game of the year, all you want is some drama. Close game, two relevant teams, we got it.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, we got them going for it on fourth down. We got fourth down stops. We got everything that you want in a college football game. It was a great kickoff to the season, and then after that, it was pretty much, Charlie Brown's mom, wah, wah, wah. And so it's, Week 0 needs to be juiced up a little bit. I love the fact that we had a top 25 matchup. It was fun. It was exciting. And then at 3:30, we all went about our business after that.
The Charlie Brown noise, that was good. Yeah. Well done.
Wah, wah, wah.
That's Week 1, baby. Love it. Fired up. All right, transition time on the audio side. Two-time captain Max Bredeson joins us. And on the video side, I want to bring in somebody here in Jason Avant shortly. Do want to get to the comments first. Ghost Hunter saying, "Go Blue, fellas." Burks, yes, we are excited as well. Turner, great to see you. Bobby, I love Mark's comment here. This entire week is like Christmas Eve. Can't wait to see the product on the field on Saturday. And more in college football these days, with new rosters, new setups, it is like Christmas Eve.
It is. Most teams have brand new players, whether it's offense, defense, special teams. You've got impactful players that have been moving around college football. You've heard a lot about what these players will look like. Some of them are freshmen like we have here in Michigan and Bryce Underwood, but Brady Norton at tackle. Like you're going to have, or guard, you're going to have a lot of new faces at places where you're like, wait a second, I thought he was at LSU, or I thought he was over here. No, this is exciting. And I think Sharon even alluded to it on the Monday Night Show. It's like Christmas. It's like Christmas for the coaches, for the players, for the fans. It is a start of a new season, and there are so many teams, with 12 teams in the college football playoffs, that really believe they have a shot.
Let's allow our audience to introduce our guest, ZH, Jason Avant, defender of the flag, and Tyler, Jason Avant, defender of the flag, receiver of the touchdown, owner of the Buckeye, the great Prince of Ann Arbor, who lives in Philadelphia, but he's coming to Ann Arbor this weekend. Jason, what is going on? Great to see you, my friend.
Oh, it's great to see you guys. You guys doing good?
Oh, hell yeah, man. Are you ready? What time is the flight? When you get into Ann Arbor? We got to go, man.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll be in on Friday, man. It'll be a great time. It'll be a great time. I'm looking forward to it. Excited about it. And it's funny that I'm known as Flagman. That's still hilarious to me. It's hilarious. It's funny. Most of the kids don't even know I played for the University of Michigan.
Well, I'll tell you, the important part, Jason, was at first people thought, what manager took the flag? Yeah. So we got your name out there, and here you are. How many times this
Yeah.
How many times this offseason have you been called the flag man, or someone has mentioned that to you?
Hey, you were that guy.
It's almost every day. It's so funny. Anytime someone sees me in public, it's not, hey, Jason Avant, captain of the team or Michigan football team or, you know, decade-long career in the NFL. It's flag man. Hey, dude, I remember you grabbed the flag. I'm like, oh, okay, great.
And you're only as good as your next viral moment.
Yeah, your
so
last
Yeah.
year, that was the last time you saw me. So it's been fun. I'm real mad about losing the mic in that situation, though. Everyone knows on our staff I lost a mic.
Yeah, there was a
lost the
turnover.
mic.
There was a fumble.
you secured the more important piece. We can replace a sideline microphone. Our engineer Tony Butler has 12 of them. We can't replace the flag
Yeah,
from the home of the Ohio State.
right.
Love it. How was the offseason otherwise, Jason?
Oh, good. Spending time with the family and kids, taking away from football for just a minute because my life gets really hectic this time of year with coverage of our team and Philadelphia Eagles. So took some much needed time, some European vacations. A lot of stuff has went on. So it's been great.
And
How about
you-
you guys?
It was good, but I do want to go back to now. I know you're covering them on the media side of things, but you're celebrating a Super Bowl this offseason. What was that like?
Oh, it was bananas because it was kind of, we didn't know Saquon Barkley would be such a dynamic player. You know how much, we would utilize him. I said earlier in the beginning of last year is that the Eagles had a tendency to be a very pass-heavy team prior to last year. So it wouldn't make sense if they continued down that path of being a pass-heavy football team. But they adjusted and they became a Michigan football team. Uh, we saw University of
Run first.
Michigan in the NFL. It was basically the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Jason Avant boost is a real thing because how long have you done Eagles stuff, Jason?
Oh man, it's maybe 4 years, 4
So
years.
you were
it's
not a
been
part of the 2 Super Bowls ago, correct? You're not a
no,
part of the Nick
not
Foles
well.
run.
I was just entering. Yeah.
Yep. But the last 2 years, Natty for Michigan 2 years ago, Super Bowl for the Eagles last year. So how about we keep the pattern going, maybe throw in a Lions Super Bowl?
Yeah, we can alternate Michigan's
hold
national
on with
championship this year, Lions Super Bowl this year, and then
I don't know if I'll concede the Lions. I don't know if I can.
come on, yeah, NFC
But they should be
championship
hungrier
game.
than ever. They should be hungrier than ever.
Hell yeah! I mean, you get ousted by the Washington Commanders, and
No way you lose that game.
No. Well, that's and honestly, it was not to get too deep into the NFL, but it was the game plan should have been what the Eagles were, right? Run the ball. They got
Run the
away
ball.
from that. Jared Goff is very competent. He can distribute the ball, but if he's got to throw the ball 55 times, we're not. The Detroit
Yeah,
Lions
and
are not winning.
guess who the Commanders had on the other side of those passes?
Mikey
Sanders
Sanders
still.
still.
Yep.
Yes.
And also, don't have Jamison Williams throw a trick pass down, whatever. But hey, we're talking Michigan football.
yeah.
Let's talk about a true freshman starting quarterback, Jason. Bryce Underwood, named QB1. How do you see that from a leadership standpoint for him, from a growth standpoint? How do you take in that decision and its trickle-down effect on the rest of the offense?
Well, I think he's won over the team. When you got a guy like Max Bredeson, who I don't know if there's been a player at the University of Michigan that I respect more and seeking him out to be his roommate for training camp. I think with those type of decisions where he understands what Michigan's about from a guy that has the respect of everyone, if you can speak into the life of Max Bredeson or he can vouch for you, I definitely am going to listen. So with the way that he carries himself, I don't know. There's just like this undertone with this kid that he believes that he's the best thing that's on the field and that he's the difference maker. And that confidence only can ooze out to the other aspects of the team. So when you hear the receivers speak, you hear the receivers, they're talking about Bryce Underwood like there's this best kept surprise that nobody else knows about, right? And they're giddy when they talk about him. So I just think that is a good sign for us. There's going to be a lot on his plate, a lot of expectation, but something tells me that this kid knows a lot more than we know.
For a young quarterback, what's your number one concern about operating the offense? And we'll talk about chemistry with the receivers and just running the offense. But what's your number one concern about going in with a very young freshman quarterback?
Well, is I would say it's going to be the blitz, right? So when it's time to pass and even in running the ball, recognizing the mic and understanding that whole process as a young quarterback, John, from that position. Maybe the center can help him because you have Crip coming back, but understanding what the defense is trying to do to you and all the jump balling you get with the young quarterback because they know that he hadn't seen these college looks at times, or yet. So I think that's going to be the biggest concern for me because not recognizing the mic and not understanding the coverages and defenses, that leads to turnovers. So if we can mitigate those turnovers of those looks by running the football effectively, because when you run the football, you begin to predicate to the defense what you're allowed to play on the back end. So if we can run the football really well, it's going to cause him to be a lot more successful if we just come out and expect him to be the savior of the University of Michigan.
I think it will be somewhat. You mentioned picking up blitzes. It's going to be predicated on the communication, especially against New Mexico, because it's at home. It's not going to be loud when the offense has the ball. You're going to, the tackles, they're in their 2-point stances in some of those situations. They can see everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. They need to relay that information to Crip, who then tells the quarterback by whether it's pointing or redirecting, to where the mic is. That, to me, is going to be the biggest factor in being able to pick up those blitzes, or at least for Bryce to understand where the unblocked man is coming from and to be able to either escape the pocket or get rid of the ball.
Yes. Agreed. We're going to see. I know we had Michael Vick in Philadelphia, and Mike, and he can tell you this story better than I can. When he was in Atlanta, he had Jim Moore Jr., I believe, as a coach, and they would tell him, just slide the line in the overload blitz and make the extra defender miss. And when he got to Philadelphia, Coach Reed kind of taught him, from like almost a blank slate of how to do everything. But in that process, that first couple years in Philadelphia, we had a guy named Jamal Jackson, which transitioned to Jason Kelsey, that would help Mike out, and he would help him out with the mic, help him until 6-7 games into the season, he was able to do it for himself. So I think we'll have, some teamwork there, helping this young guy out.
New offensive coordinator in Chip Lindsey. From all accounts, maybe the drumbeat has been loudest around the new number 1, Donovan McCulley, at wide receiver. So, Jason, what are you going to be watching for around Bryce, the rest of the offense in week 1? Because remember, week 2 at Oklahoma, you've got to be ready. You've got to have that offense at a point where you are comfortable with it operating in a hostile environment against a talented Oklahoma team. So what do you have your eyes on?
Yeah, so when you mentioned Donovan McCulley, I think that this was like, if you get Bryce Underwood, you have to get him a weapon. You have to get him multiple weapons. But I think this is a weapon that makes the most sense. Like we said, let's just continue the conversation. If you have a young quarterback that won't be able to recognize all that the defense is trying to do in its early stages, the first couple of games, what can you do in order to make him comfortable? Okay, let's forget about everything inside. I have a one-on-one matchup outside. That doesn't take much at all to be able to win a one-on-one or deliver a pass. So if I can get Donovan McCulley the ball in a one-on-one situation, I don't have to read the middle of the defense if I can win that one-on-one matchup. That's like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith in the NFL, right? A lot of times Jalen Hurts he can just avoid the junk that's in the middle and say, you know what, I got a one-on-one. I'm not about to sit here and do math in the middle. I'm just going to throw it outside. So I believe that the guys on the outside are going to be paramount to Bryce's success. But yes, it's good to finally get a guy that can win a one-on-one matchup outside. And I think that it's going to revitalize the receiver room because for the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, since Nico, we haven't had a guy that, we can just rely upon consistently. And I say Roman did really well, so Roman and other guys, but just a guy that can win his matchup without anyone else's help. I think Donovan is that guy. And these young guys are hungry just because it's hard to play the receiver position, knowing that you can't get the ball because the quarterback can't get you the ball. So having a guy that can throw the ball with velocity, with accuracy, is going to revitalize this room.
And Sharon Moore made the comp of Nico in 2019 to Donovan McCulley about a month or so ago. That's lofty praise, but still
Yeah.
it's good to hear.
Yeah. How long does it take because Bryce is going to be new to all the receivers. Donovan McCulley's new to this system, new to this offense, and honestly, everybody is too because it's a new system with Chip Lindsey. How long does it take to develop that trust that you need to have between quarterback and receiver?
They've been building upon it, and I think one of the big things was Bryce getting up here, as soon as he could. He was, at the bowl game, at the Rely Quest Bowl, figuring out, offense, learning players, talking to guys. I think all of those small moments help you. But I would say maybe if we can get to the 4 or 5 games in, so what Bryce hadn't learned yet is that there's a difference between practice and difference between game. Like in practice, they tell you to get 12 yards on the route, when in all actuality in a game is really 10 yards, right? Those are the little things that happen, right? So a blitz pickup happens a lot quicker. The ball gets out a lot quicker. So that timing, that game timing can only be practice during the game. So that's going to take 3 or 4 games or so for those guys to get in like unison, and they'll practice it and they'll get better. And the quarterback, once he learns the offense, he has command of it, he'll be able to dictate to the guys and say, you know what, hey, that says 12, but if blitz comes, I need you to break that off at 8, right? So those things happen with live bullets.
Defensively, where will your eyes be locked in first? Depth's been the big word around, and you were one of the first on our radio broadcast to mention just how much Wink Martindale leans upon depth. So where will you be watching in those first few series?
Well, my biggest concern, well, first of all, the Derek Moore, Cam, TJ, like I'm not worried about those guys. Rayshawn Benny, I'm not worried about those guys. We saw what they were able to do versus Alabama. I'm not worried about those guys at all. But you're missing, like everyone's talking about, you're missing Mason Graham, you're missing Kenneth Grant. And I want to see how that pass rush holds up, that new pass rush with grad transfers and Trey Williams and Damon Payne, and that works out. I'm really hearing a lot of good things about Pierce, but my biggest concern is the secondary. Not Rod Moore, not Brandon Hillman, not even Mason Curtis, but it's Jair Hill, it's Zeke Berry. Will Shamari Earls come in and play for us? Will TJ Metcalf play for us? Like those guys in the back end are going to be tested the most because Michigan is known for defense and we're known to stop the run. So in order to get around that, why go against the best part of the defense consistently trying to pound the ball? But our guys are unproven on the outside. They have some experience, but do we lack the foot speed down the field when it comes to Zeke Berry? Can Jair Hill get #1 reps like Will Johnson was able to? And who's going to be the other guys that emerge in the midst of this? So that's the biggest part I would say of besides Bryce Underwood and how the offense go. Will our secondary be able to hold up against pressure?
So I'm gonna reverse things on you just a little bit when we're talking about the offense and being able to win one-on-ones. And you actually said it shouldn't be that hard to win a one-on-one battle. For Jair Hill, on the opposite side of that, what does he have to do? How does he defend against those one-on-one matchups to get wins defensively?
He's the most skilled by far. When it comes to hand placement and when it comes to size and it comes to natural ability, he can do all of those things. It's when the ball is in the air. He made a bunch of, I would say big steps from the beginning of the year to the end of the year last year, is that when the ball is in the air, a lot of these young guys begin to panic. And so for Jair Hill going against everyone's #1 guy, he's going to have to own that. He has to have that confidence. He has to have that bravado. He has to have that sense of I'm the dude and be confident when the ball is in the air. And understand that everyone's going to try to do double moves because he's been beaten on a lot of double moves. It's going back over your film, recognizing where teams think you are weak at, improving upon that, and having a mindset that, you know what, I should be confident enough in my ball skills that I don't have to interfere with the receiver before the ball gets there. Like, that takes reps, that takes confidence. And I think that he's on that path. But outside of him, there's like a big drop off between him and everyone else. And that's what I'm worried about the most.
Did you see those strides enough last year from guys like Zeke and Jair with Will not playing much? How did you see them grow from week 1 to the end of the year?
Yes, like I said, one guy that didn't get enough credit at all last year was Aaron Hall. Like, didn't get much credit at all, but he was very solid down the stretch. And Jair got better as the season went on, like from Texas to Ohio State and the other in the bowl game, like just a totally different kid with those reps. So I thought that he improved significantly, and he should be confident and ready to go. Zeke played the ball better, but again, like there's like for me an example, because I'm not trying to, trash Zeke or anything like that. But you have to understand with Zeke that he has to be a perfectionist when it comes to technique. Because like me, I wasn't the fastest dude. So I had to be perfect in every movement that I had. I couldn't have wasted movement, bad steps, false breaks, those types of things. Like I couldn't have it. So Zeke has to hone in on his ability to be a perfectionist when it comes to his technique, so it can help him overcome his lack of speed when it comes to him playing outside.
I want to know, outside of Michigan, New Mexico, who else are you looking at in week 1? What excites you about the legitimate start of college football?
There's a lot of storylines. I think you guys talked about it earlier. Like, everyone wants to see Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see if his girlfriend's at the game. Hey,
Did you have any crossover? Did you have any crossover with Belichick while you were in the NFL?
You know what? I have no crossover, but he vetoed. Like, I was supposed to go to the Patriots. Brian Dable and Josh McDaniel wanted me really bad. They would text me, they would call me, dude, we're gonna try to get you as soon as But they vetoed. But Bill Belichick vetoed me because I didn't run a fast 40. So he's like, dude, we can't get him.
Oh, this was in the draft.
In the draft, yeah. So they ended up with Chad Jackson. And every time I made a play in the NFL, Brian Dable and Josh McDaniels was like, oh, damn, Chad Jackson's over there making plays.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I had no crossover, but I'm looking forward to that. I want to see the development and growth of Arch Manning to see if he's going to live up to the hype that everyone is putting on him, because I think a lot of it is family, and he hadn't proven a lot of this, right? So, and then also that team from down south, like how will their quarterback situation go? Yeah. So I think that in the first couple of weeks is going to, shine a light on what's going on in college football.
A couple of questions or comments from our viewers here, and on YouTube we've got about 175, so thanks to all those who are following along. Lance saying Jason should be a wide receiver coach. Did you ever consider any coaching toward the tail end of your playing career, or did that ever become a thought for you?
Well, I did it for a year with the Eagles, right? So I was an assistant with the Eagles for a year, and I enjoyed it. The guys improved and got better as the year went along. I decided, because I had young kids, that I couldn't give that much time to it. So I decided to just hold off on it until the future, if I wanted to do that. So yeah, it was fun, and I enjoyed that type of thing. At the college football level, I think you got to kiss too much butt in order to be a receiver coach. So I don't know if I would love it.
Yeah. Recruiting is one of those
it's too much
limiting
recruiting.
factors for us that don't pucker up.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. Like I'm a what you see is what you get type of person, and I want to be able to go into a kids and say, hey, listen, like I'm going to help you get better. Yeah, we have a few bucks for you. We're gonna Michigan's brand and their education is going to prevail. Put you forward in the future. And that's about it. So that's all I got from Coach Carr. Hey, man, we got a great education. You get no money, but you get out of the where you're living right now. I can do better than this.
Our friend Ferris Khan, who's on here a lot, JJ was the GOAT of Michigan quarterbacks. Is it realistic to be 80% of JJ in year one of Bryce Underwood? I read that
Oh
as
man.
80% of junior year JJ because we
No,
didn't see
that.
that's a lot.
No, JJ is super accurate. Like I'm not saying that Bryce wouldn't be that. It's just that you have to learn. Remember, JJ had some fails in order to propel him into what he is today and what led to a national championship. Him fumbling the ball at Michigan State as a freshman,
Yeah.
like those moments. Though we don't want to see those moments, they kind of build the character that you need in order to be a national champion. So to expect those things from day one, like the completed version of JJ, I think that's unrealistic. Not saying that he won't get a chance to become better than JJ faster because he doesn't have a Cade in front of him that's had some success and is splitting time. So a lot of these things can occur within a small period of time of him learning from mistakes a lot sooner than JJ. It may have taken JJ a couple of years in order to get to a national championship, but it may take Bryce to, a year or become a better player in a couple of games. So I think that's the privilege of playing right now.
I get asked this question a lot. Do we expect Bryce to run the ball more in year one than we saw with JJ? And I think some of that, the answer is, well, it depends on Jaden Davis's QB2. If he goes down or if he gets dinged up, what does that mean? But Bryce is I know JJ could run, and he had that in the repertoire. They didn't really call it a lot because they didn't want him to get hurt. They needed him more as a passer, but I'm telling you, Jason, when you see Bryce in person, he's just built different. Do you expect or do you want them to use him as a runner more than we've seen Michigan quarterbacks used in that regard?
I don't think that you got to worry about it because of his ability to pass it. Like, so you have to manufacture runs with some guys, and that's okay to have a little bit sprinkled in the game plan. But I think naturally in his first year, he's going to run the ball more anyway. Like we talked about earlier, he's not going to be able to recognize everything that he is getting from a defensive perspective. And what does that cause? You to hold a ball. And when you hold a ball, you make a play. And so we're going to see a lot of natural playmaking ability in general from this kid that is usually going to be a positive outcome, especially when you're the better athlete of everyone that you're playing against. So I think there will be some quarterback design runs, probably more than JJ, but his natural ability, because he won't know what he's looking at, is going to cause him to bring the ball down and run.
All right, before we get you out of here, Jason, we did do a little NFL talk when you hopped on here. Give me your overall thoughts, whether it's a Super Bowl pick or teams you feel like are going to be better or worse than people expect. What has been your read of the NFL season here just a few days out?
I think so. I think that the teams are, pretty much as like last year when it comes to the playoffs, especially in the NFC. I think that probably one of the best things that could have happened to the Lions is probably losing Ben Johnson. The reason because it kind of takes all the pressure off of them because there's a lot of people that are not even considering them to be, top two, top three teams in the NFC. So they have a chance to prove it. They can go back to being the underdog and being hungry and trying to prove everyone wrong because they have still a loaded roster, which one of the best route runners in the NFL and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think the Lions will have a lot to say toward the end of this season. We know the Eagles will be there. The only thing about the Eagles is that with all of these teams, it's hard to stay healthy for 2 years in a row, John. You know
Yeah.
that, like
Oh, yeah.
when you have like that year where only one starter gets hurt in the entire season, it's like, dude, can we replicate that? Can we do that again? So that's my biggest like concern with the Eagles. Is like not that they don't have, I still think that they have the best roster in football, but like can we overcome those can they overcome those potential injuries? And they've had some lurking in training camp. On the other side of the coin, will it be the year for Lamar Jackson to finally get over the hump? Because he has everything working for him. Has a great receiving core, great offensive line, good defense that's improving. You know, running back that's Hall of Famer. So will Lamar Jackson get over that hump on that side of the ball, and then can Josh Allen do what he always does, is win games with the lack of talent? I think Josh Allen is a dynamo. Some teams to look out for. I think the Commanders are just as good as the Eagles roster wise. And guess what? The Cowboys are too, besides the defense. But offensively, the Cowboys
That's
are
a big besides, Jason.
Yeah.
the Cowboys
That's
are
a big besides.
The Cowboy, like people are underestimating the Cowboys. Defensively, you can a little bit, because they still haven't solved their abilities to stop the run. That's what the Cowboys just have a really hard time stopping the run. But when it comes to offensive football, with Dak being healthy, Dak is a legit quarterback with, adding the kid
Pickens.
from Pittsburgh is breaking my
Yeah, George
Pickens.
Pickens.
Pickens, and along with CD and the other guys they have, I think that they'll do really good on the offensive side of the ball.
Didn't expect that.
I didn't expect
Yeah,
the Dallas
I think the
prediction
NFC East is loaded. You
It
guys
is.
got the easy path over there in the NFC
I don't-
North.
Yeah,
Boy,
yeah,
I
I know.
don't
Yeah,
know. I
downplay
think-
JJ and in a 14-win team. They'll take all those steps back. And Green Bay and Jordan Love. I don't think Jordan Love's a great quarterback, but it remains to be seen in the NFC who's got the toughest division. I know, and you would think,
come
right?
on.
Hey, I'm a Commanders guy, right? I played there for a decade.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. It's really tough. I'll ask you this: sophomore slump. Is it a real thing, or can it be a real thing, especially at the quarterback position for Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, it's a real thing. It'll be a real thing for Saquon. It'll be a real thing for all, because NFL gets a year to adjust. Right, so you knock it out the park, but teams are going to begin to see, okay, in this formation, they pulled this guy, and this leaves this guy vulnerable. So let's tack there. So same way with quarterback position. So they're going to see what he does really well, and they're going to stop that, and they're going to have to adjust. Now, the thing about Jaden Daniels is that I think that he's smart enough in order to overcome it, to be able to adjust. With guys like him, what the NFL kind of will do is start doing things that break defensive principles in order to confuse them. So I think they're gonna see a lot of things from opposing defense. So yeah, there may be a small regression, but nothing to alarm anyone. And I think that he'll be able to overcome it in the end.
NFC, all the wild card teams are going to come from the East and the North. So we'll see which one of those two gets 3 out of the 4 in there. Last one for both you guys. There are a lot of really interesting Michigan players who can be one of the storylines of the NFL season, whether it's JJ in Minnesota, Aiden Hutchinson's return to make a Detroit Lions defense great after what it was last year. One of the top 13 rookie defensive linemen, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. There are others. What Michigan Wolverine will define this NFL season in both of your guys' estimation?
It's hard to go against Aiden.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a comeback story, and I believe that season will lead to, an NFC championship and/or a Super Bowl if he's playing. So I think that him coming back will be the biggest storyline because of his star power, because of his cachet, the way he plays the game. I think that would be the biggest storyline. The most impact as well But I think Mikey Sanders still has the ability to get the ball, and he's going to be facing a division that has two really good quarterbacks that's going to challenge him a lot. And I think he has that ability to be a star in the league. I think Mikey Sanders still will be a star.
Yeah, I mean, those are the most obvious and probably the right ones. Another one I would throw under the radar with Chicago, improved offensive line. I'm really interested to see how Ben Johnson is going to use Colston Loveland. I think he is a guy that could get a lot of touches as a rookie. There's a huge learning curve, especially in that tight end room where he's going to be expected to do some in the run game because Ben Johnson will be a run-first guy. I know he's going to, there's going to be a lot of deep passes. But to unlock that offense, when it happened in Detroit, that's when Sam Laporta arrived on the scene. And so for Ben Johnson to have a player with the ability of Colston Loveland, if he could stay healthy, I think he's going to could have a really big impact on that team.
Yeah, we get a healthy Blake Corum this year as well. So I'm excited to see him and see if he can, make the same level of impact in the NFL that he did at the University of Michigan. So that's one guy that I'm excited to see play.
Last one I'll throw out. I think Will Johnson in Arizona. I think the West is a little more open than people might think. San Fran could be in the Super Bowl. They could go 6-11. There's a wide range there. The drumbeat's been good on Will. If he stays healthy, I think he can be that first-round talent that gives Arizona a boost to hang around in the West.
Yeah. We got a Michigan guy in Josh Uche here that could revitalize his career now. Let's see if it can happen.
Oh, we're going.
I hope so.
All
Just
right.
has to stay healthy,
Yes.
please.
He's been just injury ridden. We'll see though.
Hey, in Philly, you just got to be part of that rotation.
Listen,
the line changes were remarkable.
8 sacks, Josh. Let's go.
I'll tell you, Jason, one of the very, very best. Can't wait to see you this weekend. Thanks for doing this, and we will see you at the Big House on Saturday, my friend.
Can't wait to see you guys. John, keep rocking the goatee, buddy. It looks good on you.
Thanks, bud.
And
Learn it from
Brian, I
you.
wish I had some glasses.
Hey, I think you can pull them off better than me.
I know you're good. There you go.
Yeah, no, keep them on. Keep them on. Keep them on.
All right, for Jason and John, I'm Brian. We'll be back next week. More Michigan football coverage here on the Michigan Athletics YouTube page.